7th, 2022 regular board meeting to order. Roll call shows Jim is excused. Craig and Chris are also excused. Is that all we're missing? I believe. Okay. 4, agenda changes. Are there any? Okay. 5, consent agenda. A, June 16, 2022 regular board meeting minutes. B, licenses and permits. And C, presentation of accounts and other claims against the village. Are there any questions? If not, I would need a motion.
I'll make a motion for consent agenda, approve consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call, Peter?
Aye.
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 Aye. Kai.
Thank you.
Motion carried. 6, we will now open the public hearing. A, special assessment for reconstruction of Cedar Street. When Jane calls your name, if you're signed up and you wish to speak, you can speak at that time.
Robert Workentine, 228 North Mill Street.
Do I need to step anywhere in particular, or? No, this is fine. Okay. I guess at this point, I'm just trying to understand why it's a benefit to me. Within the paperwork, it says that, per the engineer's report, it's a benefit to the residents on the street. I mean, I live there, I look at it quite a bit. The road could use resurfaced, but I don't understand why ripping it out and replacing everything on the street is that much of a benefit to me in the amount of almost $14,000. I've seen other streets within the city that are in worse repair than that section of our street is, such as down here on Oak, in front of the high school, or even John Street over here as well. Again, I'm trying to figure out why exactly it's a necessity. Another situation, or not necessarily a situation, but a concern of mine is that that street is used by everybody hauling their debris up and down. So, I mean, I work from home, I see it all day long. I've got people coming up and down with their trailers loaded quite heavily. There's a large number of city vehicles, which I do see the city's planning on taking care of a good chunk of the cost. But a majority of the vehicles coming up and down are either going to the waste down at the end where the water treatment is, or the city vehicles. So again, this is my concern.
McLaren, what's your first name?
Yeah.
Cam McLaren, 229 North Mill.
Yeah, my main concern is the same thing. I mean, I don't know why I have to have a sidewalk ripped up. I can see it needs to be resurfaced. I can see there's a couple of places where, the curbing might be needing repair, but as far as sidewalks, I don't know why it's going off to the side. I don't know if they're doing more than just replacing sidewalks and resurfacing. We don't even know what it's for, other than the fact that it's for our benefit. That's what we were told, so.
That's all.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. If no one else wishes to speak, then we will close the public hearing. 7 is pre-registered citizens to be heard, and there are none. 8, committee reports, there are none. 9, unfinished business from previous meetings, there is none. 10, new business. A, discussion on Cedar Street special assessments.
So the packet in front of you will have the engineering report. Part of the project is replacing the water and sewer underneath the road, as well as fixing the sidewalks that are deteriorated, curb that's deteriorated out front, and some of the aprons are going to be fully replaced. So that's some of the stuff that's happening. As you can see with the special assessment portion of it, it's being assessed by basically what's happening near their home. So if they have very damaged sidewalk, they're getting replaced. That's what they're going to be paying for, that portion of sidewalk, along with the aprons as well. believe it's all on the Sultan Street where most of the aprons are being redone, so they don't have as steep of a pitch going into their driveways. And then same with curb and gutter replacement on that side of the street. So, that's why some houses obviously have a little more assessment than others, is because of that curb and gutter replacement and extension of the aprons and whatever sidewalks are actually damaged. And then the roadway is assessed as is. I guess, is there questions at this point that you guys have, other, you know?
If you're going to be redoing the sewage under there, is that going to affect our water bill? I mean, majority of my cost of my water is sewer usage, and I know of similar families elsewhere that have half the cost of their water bills to what we use.
Right, it won't affect the water bills, it will make it more financially feasible for the village in the future to reduce water bills if it gets to that point. Most likely the water bills are probably not gonna really change for a while, just because of the debt that's on the water and sewer plant. That was accumulated over generations where they kept taking out loans for replacing without having them fully paid off. So that's part of the reason we build our as they are, but until we get that paid off, it's the water bills are probably in the state of thing.
I don't think the curb and gutter look that bad. I mean, mine on here is the highest of all of them.
Are you on the north side of the street?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I get that.
She's at 205.
She's right off the corner of Pine and Cedar.
Okay.
So it's Vicky then Stratton on here?
Okay.
What
I didn't.
dictates a deteriorated needing repair sidewalk?
That would be our public works director.
Because there's no cracks, there's no nothing in my sidewalk. And it's, I'm just wondering why I'm having to replace a sidewalk that doesn't need to be replaced.
Are we only replacing the ones that are bad? Not,
That's what I was told.
the whole
Other
thing.
than a few that, so when you do redoing the apron, some of those are kind of part of it. But from what I was told, it was, yeah, it was most of the ones that were bad.
so what's the difference between a 24-inch and a 30-inch curb and gutter? Some are 24 and it says some are 30.
Right. So the ones that are the 30, I think, are on the south side of the street. I think that's part of the increase to have that less of a steep apron, so you don't hit the front part of your car when you go into the driveway. So I'm guessing that's part of that extension there. But
Okay.
Do we know how old the water and sewer infrastructure is on Cedar? Do we know the last time that was replaced?
we don't even have a GIS.
We don't have it.
We have no infrastructure, we have no mappings. On some of these streets in the past, they did not keep good records.
Is
So
this, yeah,
it's from,
that's what I'm curious, like how old is it underneath there?
yeah.
And
I
we've
mean, this
always-
was the last project that I think Craig kind of set, or not, Carl had set up, because he said it has horrible infrastructure underneath that needs to be replaced. So,
We had a lot of water breaks always.
yeah.
That's why it was priority.
Are any of the ARPA funds appropriate for this? Or are they already budgeted that might be able to assist with the infrastructure?
They are not appropriated. I think, I don't know how you would, if the board wants to apply it that way, they can. The drawback from that, I would say, is that it's not helpful to the rest of the village, because this is gonna be a yearly thing going forward, and these prices are not gonna change, and it's not gonna be different for the next group. And eventually you're gonna run out of ARPA funds, and it's, unfortunately, this is the way the pricing has gone. And it's,
This is the first time that I've ever been to anything like this. So for $18,000, what do they add on to my taxes every year? They're gonna like double or triple?
oh, for the payment portion of it,
Yeah.
as of right now, it's set at 4 years. That doesn't necessarily mean it has to be 4 years. The board has the ability to extend it out as long as they want. Obviously, I mean, within reason, but, you know,
Is our ordinance at 10? Is that the max we can go?
no, that we don't have it limited in our ordinance. I'm just saying, you don't wanna necessarily do 50 years and.
Oh, no.
Right,
But-
that's what I meant by within reason, I guess. I think if you guys wanted to give them 10 years to pay it off, I don't think that's a bad idea, frankly. Some of these are very high, some of these aren't as high as others, but, you know, it's a lot of money for people to come up with. I mean, frankly, I understand.
Especially if you're on social security and by yourself.
You know, I made a mention at the meeting the last time about maybe tiering it too. Which, tiering it, someone that owes something up to maybe $5,000 has 4 years to pay it off, but when you get an amount this long, might fall into a different category. And tier, you know, a longer
I
term,
think
make
that-
it a lot easier.
I think tiering it's gonna make it a little complicated too.
Why?
They,
It appears on the tax bill.
right, but for staff to track. But, I mean,
Well,
I guess,
it's just a thought.
right. I mean, I guess you.
I'll leave it at that.
I don't see why you couldn't unless legal has another opinion on that, but it's always an
I
option.
mean, it's up to the board to set the terms.
Right.
But they have the choice of paying it off right away, or.
Yeah, they can,
10
but-
years, or.
In her instance, how much is it, 18?
Yeah.
18,000.
Where's she gonna come up with $18,000 in 4 years if she's on social security?
And my husband is passed.
Yeah,
I can't do that.
I just threw it out there.
I don't know if the village is big enough, but is the village considered a wheel tax at all for the city streets?
We've talked about it.
Okay. I only ask because I know New London has one, and there are
More than
other
one.
places within the valley that do as well.
Let me tell you, it wasn't well received.
Yeah.
A wheel tax would probably pay this much of that. It wouldn't pay it all, just so
Right.
you know.
It would reduce down the total cost that you would have to pay, but she's right, it wouldn't cover it all.
Not at all. Got it.
Because there's other roads being done, and so it would be spread out
I understand.
throughout the village.
What
You know.
is an ARPA fund?
That's the funds that the federal government gave to municipalities basically for COVID relief. So we have a limited amount that was sent to us, which is around $305,000 that was sent to the village of Hortonville, which we have to use within the next, by the end of 2024. And it can be used for street projects, but, yeah.
And when is this project scheduled to start?
So this project is scheduled to start the 1st of August, and it'd be a 6 to 8 week project.
All right, and will that disrupt water into those houses?
I would think so. I don't know the detail on that and how long. Usually it's not horribly long when they disconnect it. I would have to get more information to tell you accurately. Sorry.
It's pretty quick. I mean,
I'm just wondering because, what's that street down? Pine, is that Pine that runs down underneath us there?
Mine is the one by the chiropractor.
Right, yeah, Pine. y'all redid that road 3 times. Where they ended up digging it up and redoing it, and digging it up and redoing it, and digging it up and redoing it, and, I just don't, I don't wanna see that happen up here, but it's like, that was a severe disruption, not only to those people on that street, but people that had to go through, all that other stuff. So I'm just concerned about, I know it's gotta be done because we don't, and you don't know what's under there. I mean, they could have redone this 20 years ago, right?
It's more than
Yeah. All right, my other thing is the water towers right there. So is that a main and central location that we got coming out, right?
Yeah.
Right, so, would the city need to pick up more of that because it's going to everybody and not just us right there in that neighborhood?
No, we're not touching anything to the water tower. Most of the infrastructure is just for the houses that
So
are in that area.
you're replacing the water going to the houses only, is that?
Well, the piping that goes from the water tower
Uh-huh.
for that area of Cedar Street, it's
Right.
the connections in there, the laterals, from what I've been told.
I don't know if yours is off the street there or not, mine was not, mine's off the mill.
Yeah,
They
mine-
couldn't find that off Cedar.
Yeah, mine's off the street, so I was just trying to figure out what we're replacing, if we're, replacing the main, or if we're just replacing a separate
I would
piping.
say that this is very preliminary. You also have some costs in there that are estimated based on
Right,
guessing, obviously, the 22,000.
that's my favorite thing as a math teacher, guessing, so,
Well, yeah.
yeah, but, I know, but still, it's,
Yeah, it's a high amount. I mean,
yes.
I'm not saying anything different.
Your concerns about water coming into your house, when I lived on Mill Street and they redid, the water and sewer and everything, they actually run garden hoses to your home. So you're never without water, usually. Like I say, it could be for some odd reason
Right.
that you'd be interrupted, but it would usually be for a very short time.
And
They
so
always
that
make
leaves
sure
me-
people have
Is
water.
Mill Street going to be done? I mean, is that, because I live on a corner,
Yeah,
and so,
So,
I'm just
in-
preparing for the other half of this bill because
well, currently it looks like next year, we're looking at town, depending on if we can get a grant. Other than that, Main Street in 24, 26, 27, it looks like it's Mill and Barris. So, yeah, I know, it's,
right, so then okay, so I've got this one going, and I got another one coming right after it,
So you and I will both at 20 plus.
in a 4-year span.
In our last meeting, we actually talked about what could we do to try and, there is no, the costs are going up. I myself have 150 feet of footage on Main. When we redo Main, I'm scared, because I know it's gonna be expensive. That's why things have been brought up, to try and help supplement some of these wheel tax or other types of funding, just to help soften the blow. It doesn't take it away, but at least help soften the blow. So that was our discussion in our last meeting.
and that's why we're not voting on this tonight,
Yeah.
is because we're still looking at other options totally before this goes through.
Yeah, I can understand redoing curbs, I can understand redoing, that road is just hammered with, tractor traffic, and
Semis.
semis. After this last storm, I don't know how many times I saw the tree truck go up and down past my house, but,
We'll have them more on the road before they ever even made it.
yeah. But, yeah, it's even in the winter, cause that's where, all the plows and everything come up from that area, and they always come up over the hill and then down to, the main road there. And they don't, they like coming up the hill for some reason rather than just winging a right and going out on the flat, but, so it gets hammered and there's holes and there's all that stuff, and it needs to be redone. I can see that. I just can't see the replacing of the, I don't see the sidewalks as a big issue. If you're replacing the pipe, replace that portion of the sidewalk that you need to. I don't see why I need all 70 feet of my sidewalk replaced if you're only,
Is there any sinking of the sidewalk over, is there any sinking
No.
of the sidewalk? I mean, would it cause issues with the leveling of the road? You know what I mean, for drainage purposes?
oh, trust me, mine drains great.
No, I mean, I feel you, because I live on a corner
pull
too.
everybody's crap out of my drain all the time. I know how well it drains.
I mean, I understand, I live on a corner as well, and
Yeah.
I had both roads done, not very different in time, and
Yeah.
Mill Street, actually on my end, is not looking great at this point, because
Right.
when they closed the bridge, traffic was going down my road
Right.
as well, plus you've got the concrete place down at the old canning factory that
Oh, yeah.
constantly going, and the Black Otter deliveries, I mean,
Yeah.
the feed mill, I mean, it's busy down my road too, so
Yeah.
I understand. I'm just, I know that when we did they redid all the aprons too, and that was done, and that was before I was on the board, but, I guess,
Or like, my neighbors, they just had their apron redone.
Yeah,
So would that need to be replaced, right? So it's like, so it's like the sidewalk thing. Did they go through and just say, oh, we're gonna replace all 70 feet? Or, I know exactly where it comes into my house, not, you said it's the feeder line coming in. That's one section of sidewalk, so I'm just trying to figure out, if we can get away, any little savings is gonna be much appreciated, not only by us, by the city as well, because y'all are paying 2/3 of what I'm paying anyway, so, yeah.
Are there any other questions? No? Okay, then we will move on to B, Hawkins Ash Audit Presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amber Ebert, and I'm from Hawkins Ash CPAs out of the Manitowoc office, and I will be presenting the 2021 financials. So to start, we issued an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion that you can achieve on an audit. And we just like to mention that the financial statements present fairly and are materially correct. I'll start with the adjusting journal entries. So this year we proposed 52, however, 8 of those were ones that we received after we had already imported the trial balance. So really those 8 don't really count, it just was a timing issue. And then last year we proposed 45, so there was one less this year, which is what we want to see. We would like to see just a slight decrease in the amount of entries we give. We don't expect you to magically give out or do 20 on your end. That's just not realistic. So with that, we recommend, if you feel comfortable, to maybe try 1 or 2 entries every year on your own. And if you have any questions as you're doing them, please feel free to reach out to us, and we will be more than happy to check to make sure that it's being done correctly. Or if you're just not sure why an entry is being done, please feel free to reach out. And with that, we recommend just at any point throughout the year, if you have any questions, just keep reaching out to us. It's free of charge. It's part of the audit fee. Unless we have to do, hours and hours of research, then we may charge a fee, but I don't see that happening. So yeah, just keep reaching out with any questions, and I think everything will keep improving from there. And we just want to thank Jane and the rest of her team for preparing for the audit. My team and I felt that the audit went a lot smoother this year, which is to be expected, being it was the second year this year. The first year is always rough, just, we're learning how the village does things, you're learning how we do things. But I felt this year went a lot smoother and a lot quicker. Next is the communication with those charged with governance and the management advisory comments. So this year we discovered 23 material audit adjustments, and these include WRS changes, debt issuance costs, state aid payments, WDF loan repayments and receivables, deferred revenues, equity, property tax roll, special assessments due to DuPrums, operating transfers, fixed asset additions, depreciation expense, and accumulated depreciation. So kind of with the adjusting journal entries, there's going to be some that we never expect the village to do on their own. We have a senior manager who has spent years and years perfecting like the WRS spreadsheet, so we would never expect the village to even attempt those entries. We have it set up so that we take 5 minutes and they're good to go. For the management advisory comments, we issued 9 this year. They are the same as last year, except the original and final budgeted amounts comment has been resolved. And then next year, the GASB 87 leases comment will also be resolved, as that will be implemented on next year's financial, assuming you have GASB 87 leases. So next I'll go over the fund balances. So we'll start with the general fund. The non-spendable fund balance is down to 0. The assigned decreased and is now at $485,123. And then the unassigned increased and is now at $472,126 for an overall general fund balance of $957,249, which is an increase of $80,332 from last year. And if you take the unassigned fund balance as a percent of expenditures, you get 20%, which is an increase of 5% from last year, which is exactly what we want to see. This means you have about 2.5 months of expenditures covered for next year if something were to happen, for whatever reason, a loss of income, which is very unlikely in government, but we just like to mention that. And we recommend our clients have at least 2 months covered, so you're all set there. Next is, I'll just quickly go over the main revenue and expenditures. So for the revenues in the general fund, taxes made up 41%, intergovernmental made up 37%, and public charges for services made up 14%. And then for expenditures, public safety was 46% of expenditures, public works was 22%, and the general government was 17%. Next is the other fund balances, so I'll start with the debt service fund. The non-spendable for advances decreased and is now at 0. And then the restricted for principal and interest payments decreased and is now at $1,303,862, which is also the total debt service fund balance, which the total debt service fund balance decreased $218,236 from last year. And this is mostly due to that no new debt was taken out and 1 bond and 1 note were paid off this year, and it looks like 1 note will be paid off next year. Next is the special revenue funds. So the restricted for subdivision park fees increased and is now at $45,500. The housing and neighborhood conservation remained the same from last year at $32,741. And the Wisconsin Development Fund grant increased and is now at $25,245. And with the special revenue funds, it's also the ARPA funds. However, they didn't have a fund balance last year, as no funds were spent. So that is still able to be spent. For the capital project funds, the assigned for capital improvements decreased and is now at $173,215. The unassigned for TID 3 increased and is now at a negative $277,457. TID 4 increased and is now at negative $277,907. And then TID 5 decreased and is now at negative $18,631 for a total capital projects fund of negative $400,780, which is a decrease of $266,484 from last year. Last is the proprietary fund balances. So the net investment in capital assets, water and wastewater, increased and is now at $7,227,091. The restricted for debt retirement increased and is now at $601,400. The water and wastewater replacement increased and is now at $570,63. And then the WRS pension increased and is now $84,066. And then for the unrestricted water and wastewater, that increased and is now $1,540,707 for a total proprietary funds of $10,023,327, which is an increase of $331,344 from last year. Are there any questions?
Does anyone have questions? No? No questions? Okay, if there are no questions, then we will move on. Thank you for,
Thank you. Hawkins
Um,
thanks you for allowing us to be out here again.
all right, thank you. C, discussion and possible action on the developer's agreement and sale of village property 217 West Main Street, parcel number 240006000.
So this is the parcel which is formerly known as Pocket Park. Now we had a estimation of, or assessment done on the, trying to figure out the cost to sell it at. So we took that cost. Ford agreed to potentially have a agreement where if they built it within a certain amount of time to pay it. This was kind of the structure we had to set up, because I think initially we talked about having it for sale for around $4,000 to them. And in order to better maintain compliance, we had to charge them $11,300, and we would give them money back if they completed it. The ways that we kind of did in the past wouldn't have really worked. If we tried to claw back something that we've already sold, it doesn't really work well. So this is the way that we kind of had to structure it. The owner of the business is fine with it, with the structure. So I don't know if you guys have any concerns or thoughts.
So we pay them $7,300 if they complete construction, satisfactory construction by December 31 of 23?
24.
Oh, okay.
We got an appraisal on that, right? Was that the appraised value?
The appraised value was $11,300. When we looked at it, we saw that there was, looking at, part of it was because of the TID aspect of it, that we decided that with the $4,000 amount was kind of what we wanted out of it. And there was also some of the appraisals that we had didn't really necessarily match our site as much as some of the other ones did. So that's kind of what we came up with.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we would need a motion.
I just have a quick question. So with the appraised value and all that stuff, I mean, it was just, did we tell them before we had it appraised that it was at 4,000, or did we just
No.
Okay.
They didn't know what it was gonna be.
Mhm.
They were told at a different time it would be cheaper.
Yeah.
And then basically I said, we're gonna get an appraisal. I told them what the appraisal came in at. I said the appraisal came in at $11,300. And then we brought it to the board, and the board discussed and
Okay.
figured out what we wanted
Okay.
out of it. So, the only potential downside of this is if they don't build, we sold the lot for $11,300.
And if they don't build, there's nothing we can do, right? It's
Right.
just an empty lot.
Right.
Okay.
So I think that's the only difference is, I think in the past, we wrote in there, some clawback features, but that's not enforceable for the most part. So if it ever came down to it, we couldn't necessarily claw back the property or.
Okay.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we would need a motion.
Did legal have any concerns as far as the agreement? It was pretty solid. Ashley drew it up, it looks like, right? And-
Yeah, we were back and forth a few times on different things, and this is kind of what we decided was the best structure to
Mhm.
try to get the goal, I guess, which is having them put the infrastructure in. So,
And this, and maybe it just is a given that it would follow the downtown zoning.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I think it's actually written in there too.
I was trying to find it, and it's,
Toward the bottom.
Number 3, it talks about, administrative codes, ordinances, regulations of state and Allegheny County, and then it also, I think, says elsewhere.
yeah, 'cause I know
Yeah.
we set certain
Agreement
guidelines.
shall be interpreted consistent with the rules requirements in chapter 44, which is I think it's their zoning code.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the developer's agreement in the sale of village property 217 West Main Street, parcel number 24000 forget the dash, 6000, in the amount of $11,300.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Peter?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Discussion and possible action on changing the street name for newly created cul-de-sac.
So I had a meeting with the homeowners on that block, and they proposed the street name to be replaced with Calcheck Court.
Is there a reason for that?
I think it's someone related to one of the owners.
It is.
So this is what they
It's
gave
his
me.
mother.
Ah,
I think it's his mother.
so,
Yeah.
Did anyone else come up with any names?
Well,
I guess my question is this just from one person or collectively?
there was three people
that
at the
signed
meeting.
out of how many?
5.
5. Is there any significance of that name to that?
just old family,
Yeah.
relative.
Yeah,
I know there was some discussion, somebody made it one time about Carl McCrary.
Is there an issue with Crest Court?
I wouldn't do Crest Court. Because it's not even Crest Street anymore. You know what I mean? Oak Court, we could do, but we do have an Oak Knoll Court.
yeah.
And we have a lot of names that are very similar to each other, and I'm sure it's,
Real fun when you get a fire
Yeah.
call.
It was suggested to me
Like
to
Kelly
name
and
it
Kelly?
Rustic Court,
Kelly Way or
because
Kelly
that's a rustic
Drive.
road. I think
like
we
that name.
stay away from surnames, and
yeah, I mean, I don't have a care in this fight.
if anyone has any suggestions other than a name, But it was suggested to me by a couple of residents to call it Rustic Court.
Call what?
Rustic
Rustic
Court?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a state rustic road, right?
I don't know if it would stay that way, though.
Why?
Well, not that portion of it,
Oh,
but
you mean
No.
the
Because the
After
road is,
it's
the crest
ending.
is gonna come in a different area.
understanding, yeah.
yeah.
So,
Does
but
anyone else
But-
have any
But
suggestions?
But Double M all the way to Stevensville is a state rustic road.
Mhm.
Right,
Am I correct?
right.
Okay. So that small little portion that they're reconstructing really wouldn't affect it. It's still,
Be a rustic road.
still gonna be rustic road, it's still gonna be Double M.
mm-mm,
No?
No, but it'd be off the double M.
no.
So Double M's
Double
gonna,
M is
Crest.
gonna come out to M
yeah. I
by
know that.
itself,
Yeah.
so.
North
I
of
mean,
the
that's no
highway.
different to me
Yeah.
than, old 76 or old 45 or old, I mean, it was old rustic, right?
Right.
We're just not putting the old part in there.
The county might have an issue with it.
With rustic
With what?
board.
Rustic?
Yeah, we have. Looks like, well, maybe. The city of Appleton has it, so that might be far enough away where they won't have an issue with it. But they're trying to reduce the
Well, we can change, we can,
competitiveness.
Rustic View Court.
old rustic court.
Oh, I like rustic view court.
Rustic View Court, I mean, it's something that is not rustic. I
Then
think-
it's, yeah,
Yeah, I don't know, I wanna stay
I
away
like
from the
that better.
surnames. Rustic View Court,
any like that?
That would be fine. Well, the other one is Rustic Woods, so, in Vandenbroek, so.
Rustic view court it is.
Rustic View Court.
Okay, do we need a motion?
Yep.
Yes, we do.
Is that
Julie?
bothering you?
Is it a
I'm-
rustic view?
Let me take care of it.
Well, I'll spotlighting you, you know, or demand through the window. So, in this motion, what do you have to say in this motion? Cause it's not in existence, just in the newly developed cul-de-sac. Newly created cul-de-sac?
Yeah, that we propose to the county, that
I hate
it will be called this.
I will make a motion to name the newly created cul-de-sac Rustic View Court.
I don't like that.
Well, then just say nay.
You just let it live.
Is there a second?
No.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Wait.
Aye.
Is there a space?
Well, yeah,
Yes, 2 words.
it's 2
What?
words grammatically.
I
Two
know,
words.
I'm just,
Rustic,
Rustic
View?
space view
I know,
space
but we have
court.
many of them that should be 2 words.
Ellie's over there.
Okay.
okay.
Grammatically, that would be how it would be.
I see a lot of issues in
Yep.
library records, so make sure you make a difference.
Okay. My
So what do we
motion-
need?
My motion continues with those spaces. Did you
Okay.
catch those, Jane?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Discussion and possible action, GFL sledge contract.
So, I created a little write-up on that, and basically, no one would take our sludge. So, at this point, we should probably just move forward with doing the sludge contract with Gratian.
GFL.
Creation or GFL, Green for Life.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
same thing.
So my,
GFL.
It's not the same thing.
in
It was advanced.
Craig's notes, he
Well,
made a
one was
comment.
purchased from, Gratian was purchased by GFL.
GFL was buying up a little, you know.
It was advanced, which used to be the old one.
Um, In Craig's notes, he makes the comment about the sizing. Was this the building that we created, or that extension that we, I mean, do we have to do anything different to
So
plan
we-
for the future?
We would've, if we would've, so, from what I understood is if we went with Harder's, that would take our sludge. We would've had, the issue is the size of the container that needed to have the sludge in it would have to be partially outside.
Okay.
So if we would have issues with scraping and getting the sludge out, where the one that GFL is gonna do is they're designing a special bin for us that will fit in our area that will, that's why that monthly basis charge is there for the rental, the 600 a month, or the, sorry, the 150 a month.
Okay.
Because they don't wanna build this thing that they're building specially for us and then have us
Okay.
leave the contract.
I'm just, what I'm asking is so that, like, in the future, they decide they don't wanna have a special size bin for us. Like, are
Then
we
gotta
gonna,
extend.
then we're gonna have to extend that building, okay?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we would need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the GFL contract. I'm just looking, there's for $150 a month rental plus an additional $600 a month with a total of $750 a month, is that correct?
Kind of, yeah.
But the 150 rental is waived after 36 months, so
Well, I would just accept the contract.
let's just accept the GFL contract. I don't see a date on here, sorry.
I'll second.
Roll call, Peter?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. F, discussion and possible action on chip seal in Wildwood subdivision.
This is our quote for chip sealing. We had 2 of them, I think. The, obviously corner is the cheaper one, that we would most likely suggest going with. And it's needed in this area pretty badly. It's, the edges of the roads are kind of deteriorating.
So both of these quotes were for the exact same thing, correct?
I questioned it too.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the other one is more than twice the amount.
but I think the other one is micro surfacing compared to chip sealing.
Oh,
Or they didn't want the contract.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it has more to do with the micro surfacing.
so you want a motion?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal contract from Farner Asphalt Sealers for the work done resurfacing Wildwood in the amount of $24,984.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Peter?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Discussion and possible action on requests for reimbursement, 603 South Nash Street.
So the email is in the packet, that kind of explains what happened. I don't know if, because Craig's been out for vacation, Craig did respond to this gentleman and said that he would submit it to We Energies. So I guess at this point, I wouldn't suggest anything until we hear back from We Energies. I don't know if Craig submitted it before, or sorry, if Carl submitted it before, when this initially happened. Do we enter, or they dug up a bunch of gas lines over there,
Mm-hmm.
so.
So we don't know if it was submitted to We Energies?
I don't know. I won't know until Craig gets back and I can
Oh.
search through Carl's
Okay.
emails back in
Okay.
2021.
Well, any of that restoration is always the responsibility of the contractor.
That's why I don't know why they said that if they don't pay for it, we would, so.
Yeah. Well,
So I'd be curious as well, when you're doing that search with Craig, to see if there were other properties, because wasn't it kind of a big stretch on Nash?
Yep.
If there were other properties that maybe weren't turned in, or that if they do need repair, that we follow up with the Energies and find out. But I just feel like this could potentially roll into other people asking us to repair their property, which if it's We Energies, let's just make sure we're
Well, yeah, I
asking them to do it
I
all.
would say if they're asking for us to reimburse We Energies, I probably would say that's probably not the thing to do. But we'll try submitting it to We Energies and see what they respond
Okay.
back to, if you guys are okay with that.
yeah.
Do you need anything just to defer this?
Yeah, we can always table it for a different time.
Yeah. We'll table it until we hear.
Okay.
What's the total? What are they looking for?
285.
Oh, I can't see that. Okay.
Okay, then we'll move to H. Any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion? I do have one. I was contacted by the property owner at 510 West Main, next to Miller Park. He would like to be put on the agenda in 2 weeks to discuss the issues with his driveway from the construction at Miller Park. So
Damon?
Nathan is looking into it, and
No discussion.
Is that an agenda thing, or do you, when,
I can talk a little bit about it in my administrator's report, because I kind of was there today and talked with him a little bit.
Okay.
anything else for agendas? No?
Nope.
Okay, we'll move to 11, report of village officials. A, clerk treasurer.
My report was in the packet.
Any questions for Jane? Okay, then we'll move to Director of Public Works, and he is excused. His is also in the packet. C, police chief, her report is in the packet. She's excused. D, library director.
My
Ally's
was
report
in-
is in the packet. Ally, did you have anything else to say?
No.
No? Any questions for Ally? Okay, we will move then to E, attorney.
Nothing to report?
Okay. F, administrator.
Yeah, so next to Miller Park, the issue is a sidewalk that's put in. The homeowner next door to it, on the left-hand side, it has a driveway that is lower than our sidewalk is. The sidewalk isn't fully done yet. I'm meeting with our engineer on Monday next week to discuss options going forward. So it's an area of town where typically, in most circumstances, we would say that most houses should have a common swale between them. But due to the age of the area and the property, none of them do. So, because they're all right next to the Opera House, it's the 3 houses next to the park there. So all the water kind of comes down and goes into that area. So the idea right now is I gotta meet with our engineer, discuss options. The only issue is next Thursday they're looking at doing the final coat on everything. So the solution might have to be determined prior to next board meeting. But I will be in contact with the homeowner during that. So at this point, I guess I don't know what,
did they have a gravel driveway, if I remember right?
they do have a gravel driveway, yes. I think initially why it's up as high as it is right now was, the thought was from him supposedly was that that he might get his driveway redone, but obviously costs are stupid right now, so he decided not to, and it might be a mixture of leveling some of our side off a little bit, and figuring out how to make the water drain to our drain in the back. So, that's kind of where we're at with that one, and most likely the solution would be having to be determined prior to the next board meeting. So,
You want to call a committee of the whole when you find out?
I
We
mean,
wouldn't be able to make a decision at the committee of the whole.
right.
It may have to be a special board meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Let us know.
Yeah, if you want to call a special board meeting, I'm okay with that.
when are they doing the top coat, Thursday?
Supposedly Thursday next week, yeah.
So it would be Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
And Monday I'll find out from them on options, so, yeah.
I'd have to be by phone for that, so I'll be in Atlanta.
Do we need to maybe just do a tentative meeting right now, like set up a tentative meeting at this time? So we
Well,
just,
Wednesday's not gonna work.
yeah.
'Cause I know
Tuesday.
Wednesdays, they have,
Court.
fire.
Fire district meeting.
Tuesday?
Tuesday, I know it won't work for Jim, but we only need a quorum.
Cause I likely would not be able to be here Tuesday evening, I could maybe attend by phone.
So it's, I mean, Tuesday or Monday,
Monday would be better.
Monday's fine.
I mean,
Is
I'm
Monday okay with everyone?
I'd rather.
I will be on a flight till
you?
6:45,
Tuesday?
You wanna attend by phone?
after 6:45.
Can we just throw it in as a tentative?
Who can't make Tuesday?
I can't.
And you can make Tuesday?
Well,
I can make
Could
it
do by
either.
phone
can
though,
make
right?
Monday
I could,
or
it would be my
Wednesday.
son's softball game in Dale, I don't know how reception
I mean,
is.
I
I'm
can
good, either day, Tuesday, 5
I can
PM.
do Tuesday phone, I can't do Monday at all, if it's
Can
after
you do-
6:45.
Tuesday then, and we'd have her on the phone.
And I can try.
You
I
really
just don't
can
know
try
what
to
the
get
And
reception is.
what time?
Early, 5,
Early?
so he can get out of
What's
here.
good for everyone?
Actually, I could do 5. If it's early enough.
Tuesday at 5?
Yep,
Is that good with everyone?
yep.
So that would be the 12th.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know, we'd have to check the community room calendar.
Do you have it on?
At 5 PM,
And
We have a program in here till 3, but that's about it.
So we'd be okay then with 5?
yes.
Okay,
Okay, so then it's set for, if we need it, Tuesday at 5.
And if you need to cancel it, just let us know.
Yeah. And that way you know, be able to get the answers.
Yep.
Any other questions for Nathan?
I do have one, just kind of a follow-up. There were 6 little kids on the fishing pier at Veterans Park today. When is that railing going up? Any idea?
No, I have no
Okay.
idea.
All right,
Um,
I'll
You
address
see
it
the
with
same
Craig.
thing I see.
I-
What?
You see the same thing I see. Yeah. It's scary.
You know, and they were, they had a parent there, but they were sitting on the edge. I don't know how deep that water is there, but these kids were like 2, 3 years old. It's a little nerve-wracking. Okay, I'll follow up with Craig.
Okay, then we will go to G, building permit report. It is in the packet. Any questions? Okay. 12, communications and miscellaneous business, Black Otter Lake District News. Pat?
We met on, when did we meet? June, there's no date on the minutes, I'm sorry, I think it was 2 weeks ago. 22nd, I believe, was the date that we met. Talked about the old harvester, still waiting for parts on that. We are, looking at a recommendation for a new harvester, it's called an Inland Lake 250. Craig, Chris, Al, and one other person went. Sean, I don't think Sean went, but he heard about it anyway. Sean was at the meeting. We're recommending that this was the right one if we go with a new one. We need some more, ideas if it's gonna fit in the storage unit, that type of thing. There was one cycle done of harvesting. We're looking at someone coming in July. The annual meeting is set for August 22nd, and we are also meeting this month, I think a week from Wednesday, we're meeting to establish a budget to bring to the annual meeting.
Any questions for Pat? Okay, B, Hortonville, Hortonia Fire District News.
We got a meeting on the 12th at 6. And then we have, also have our
13th.
fundraiser the 29th and 30th of this month up at the Well Diamonds. 15th year fire EMS softball tournament.
What day is that? What day is the tournament? What day is the tournament?
What day?
What?
The tournament, the dates,
The date.
What's the date of
29th
it?
and 30th.
Thank you.
29th and 30th. Okay, any questions for Jack? Okay, C, Gold Cross Ambulance Run Report and News, there is none. D, Hortonville Civic Association.
None.
E, Senior Activities Committee.
We had a meeting and started hammering out details for the Senior Autumn Fest, which will be October 11th. And just ideas for future programming. We'll have another meeting this month.
Okay, any questions for Pat? 13, comments and suggestions from citizens present.
I have a quick question. Nathan, you passed this around before the meeting. Was this something we need to go revisit? Do we need to go back to?
It'll be on the next meeting.
It'll be on the next one.
It was an emergency that we had to pay for.
Okay, I just didn't wanna file it away. Alright,
Apologies.
You shouldn't
Okay.
have to though, because you kept it at the $5,000 limit.
Yes, but it's still,
If it were 5,001, it would be a different story.
5,000.
Just the time.
Well, no, technically 4,900. Yeah. Thank you.
True.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are now adjourned.